I love
Like,
this day, my money
yes, yes.
management day with Megan, my virtual CFO, and she can be yours too. But let's listen in today because what are we talking about? Other people's money. What do you mean?
Other people's money. Other people's money. So I'm talking about the money that has come into your accounts that actually belongs to somebody else. And this is what makes people really nervous. In fact, I've had 3 conversations already this week, unprompted by me, about being all about other people's money. Okay. And first,
Okay.
I love talking about money because it's like, the kids that grow up with parents who are comfortable talking about sex and body functions do better with sex and body functions as they grow. And so we start talking about money, you're going to do better about money. Just rip that Band-Aid off and let's do it.
This is my live where we talk about anything, even an analogy of sex and money.
Money. Yeah. Yeah. So what I mean by other people's money is it might be cost of goods sold, it might be taxes, it might be staff that you need to pay. It's the stuff that if you don't have a handle on it and you can't see it and how it's going to flow in the future, it makes you really nervous about things like paying yourself. Right?
Okay, so you're talking about you're a business owner and you're taking money in and you have to pay taxes at some point, sales tax, income tax. Yet you're just letting this accumulate. This is a lot about what we talk about in my group programs and with my one-on-ones. Separating your money, right?
Mm-hmm. So one of the people that I had a conversation with just yesterday, actually it was Tuesday. Yesterday was Tuesday. She was talking about her husband's business actually. And she's like, he makes so much money, but he won't pay himself. Like he's got so much money in all of these accounts, but I feel like I have to be the breadwinner because he just won't bring any of it home. He's so nervous about what he has to pay his staff. He's so nervous about what he's got to pay the contractors, all this like other people's money, and he can't see it. And that's the question. I was like, well, does he know how much he owes and when he owes it?
Right. And what his monthly expenses are.
Right. And there's a difference between like, there's a more frantic energy that comes with other people's money than with like your credit card debt or your, the expenses and that type of thing. When it comes to other people's money, that's when I had a boss once tell me, you don't screw with people's wives and you don't screw with their money. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, if you have government money in your primary bank account, you're going to have to pay the government. If you don't have the money in there to pay them, government's coming after you. If you owe it to a furniture company, to a laborer of any kind, right? And you're sitting with it, or you may owe it back to the customer for some reason, right? If you're doing what I teach, which is pay in advance, work against that for hours, and something goes sour with that relationship, have you spent that money? Right? Is it mixed into the big bucket? So you're basically doing like a profit first process here.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the hardest things to eyeball. Like it's super hard to eyeball. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that I owe Phil $2,000 for that job. And I remember that my contractor's invoice is going to come due on that job. And that's about $1,600 a month. Those types of things, like the mental math, then you get into the world of like, what am I missing? Or you don't see the tempo of actually that $1,600 isn't due for the next 3 weeks. What is happening in your cash account between now and then to make sure that you're okay?
Okay. So accountants hate when you break out your money into different buckets. As a general rule, I have found. Maybe other people have found differently. Because they'll say, well, you should have an accounts payable and know what you owe other people, and that as if my QuickBooks is always perfectly clean and my accounting system is properly filled in 100% of the time.
I am staring at my screen really, really hard right now, so I don't roll my eyes so far in the back of my head that they sprain themselves.
Go ahead. Respond to that statement.
I can't. Okay, I'm not going to flip them off either. I'm not going to use the F-bomb. I'm going to. This is your business, not your accountant's.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. I don't care about making their life easier. Their job is to make your life easier. Okay.
Right, but they'll say, well, that's more transactions, and then it's going to cost you more, and try to scare you into not allocating other people's money into other accounts, which I think is a mistake. And you taught me this, Megan, and I'm going to repeat it. If you think about maybe your mom, when you were younger, used to get money for the household for the week, and this would be for clothes, and this would be for food, different envelopes, and different $20 bill for this, $60 for this, lunch money for the kids. That's what we're talking about with looking at other people's money as designating it in buckets, so that you don't have it all mixed into one bank account and think you are loaded and you can do, trips and other things, right? It's like it drives me crazy. It's one of the things we teach consistently in the Profit Insiders group, in my one-on-ones. This. It's like,
Yeah.
get your money and mix it out of the primary bucket. Otherwise, you're going to think you're loaded, and you could get stuck owing someone money and not having it.
Yes. And this is like a major function of Profit First, right? Like Profit First is pay yourself, and then make sure that you're taking care of other people's money is the next step after you pay yourself. And then it's expenses after that. Other people's money, like even if you're not doing the envelope system, you're not doing Profit First, you're not doing a separate bank account, when you know exactly how much you owe in terms of other people's money, or when I say exactly, I mean, you're not using the mental math of like, I think it's $1,600 3 weeks from now, and I think there's another, knowing, like having a list of what money that you've collected that belongs to somebody else. You are simply a pass-through from your client to somebody else. That is going to give you so much breathing room in and of itself. It's not scary to have that list. It is so much more angst to try to make it up mentally. And then
I will say it's empowering to know exactly what you actually have to spend in your primary bank account without having everyone else's money mixed in, or with, like you said, or again, you have the number, but you can subtract out because you have a list of what is other people's money. Really, really important. So many people, when they first start coaching with me, don't even know their numbers. And then once they do, then I go to, well, what's in your bank account? This is what's in my bank account. How much of that is not your money? Huh? What do you mean? And then some people do know what I mean, but they don't know the dollar amount. And that's where we usually start. How much of that is actually your money? How do I know how much you can spend? How do I know if you can hire someone? How do I know if you can finally start paying yourself because you haven't in 2-3 years? This is the first things we start to deal with in the group programs and my one-on-one. It's so empowering to be a CEO of your own business finally and know your numbers.
Yeah. And so like the angst of like other people's money is different than angst of debt and amount of expenses and stuff like that, because there is that threat of like, this is where the mental game of money comes in. There's that threat of disappointing somebody. There's that threat of actually interrupting your business because you've pissed somebody off because you didn't give them their money that you were holding, right? Like that's the mental side of other people's money that doesn't come into play with just like regular expenses and credit card debt and stuff like that. Right. The other side is, I've seen this with people who have an extra 12 months of cash in their bank account, and they're afraid to pay themselves because they don't know how much belongs to somebody else. Or on the other end, where they are playing catch up from spending other people's money, and they've got credit people knocking down their doors, and they still don't have their minds wrapped around how much is other people's money. So they can't even begin to make those phone calls back. And that's when you become powerful and proactive of making those phone calls and saying, hey, look, I know exactly how much I owe you. This is the plan for how I'm going to pay you back. You can't do that if you don't know the amount of other people's money.
Oh my God, I could talk about this subject literally all day because this is how much I love this subject. It is just so important. It's one small component of running a business, but it's a really important component of knowing your numbers, knowing other people, what other people's money, where it's sitting and how you can use it and how you cannot use it. Like, people just don't know this. So
Yeah.
setting up your books properly, setting up your bank accounts properly, all feed into this. And I know you have, I put it in the description, you have a place they can go to take a little quiz or something. What is this?
Yeah. So mental money buckets, it's just a mental exercise. There's no math involved at all.
Good.
It's just to give you some insight so you can see how your brain is working with money, right? It's just that first step of, you don't even need a little bit of bravery. It's just a fun, like, oh, that's why my brain thinks about money that way. Oh.
So does this dig into your money story a little bit?
A little bit. It's more of awareness about how our brains have not evolved as fast as our use of money has evolved.
Oh.
And so the way that our brain has evolved to use resources, and money's a resource, it's different. Like $1 over here, when you think of it as a resource this way, is completely different than $1 over here when you're using it from this resource bucket, because that's how your brain sorts it out. So once you can start to see that, awareness is the first step, right? And it doesn't take as, once you have that awareness, it doesn't take as much like talking yourself into it or as much bravery as you would otherwise need to face your money head on. So let's just take that baby step. Get your toes wet, right?
Mental money. All right, everyone go take the mental money buckets test. And you know what? When you were talking, I was starting to smile because my brain was going to, like, when I'm in a casino and I decide $500 is what I'm going to spend for my entertainment, I'm like, yeah, that's not bad for entertainment. And but if I was to spend $500 on clothes, I'd be like, I'm not spending $500 on clothes. Like, the different buckets and what they mean to you. Like, I'm going to go take this quiz because I could probably use a little adjustment in my money buckets.
Just warning, it's not so much a quiz as it is like, oh, that's why that looks like that. That's why my brain does that.
Okay, I'm gonna go take it so I understand it.
Now I got to think about how to make this into a quiz.
Oh, I think a quiz would be fun. Yeah, we could work on that one together. A money mindset quiz of some kind. Ooh, that'd be fun. All right, everyone, go have a great Wednesday. I had to think what day of the week it is. I hope this was helpful. I know when Megan's here, it's always helpful. I love the talk about money and the different ways to look at it. So go take your mental money bucket quiz. And if they want to just go take a look at your website and all that you offer, where do they find you, Megan?
MeganDolly.com, first name, last name.com.
Easy breezy. Okay, everyone. Thanks, Megan. We'll talk soon. And I'll see everybody soon. Have a great Wednesday.